In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. Have you ever questioned the existence of creatures beyond our understanding? Creatures like Bigfoot, perhaps? This elusive beast has intrigued and mystified us for centuries, becoming a cornerstone of popular culture and folklore the world over. It is a creature shrouded in mystery, existing at the intersection of belief and skepticism. Some dismiss Bigfoot as a mere product of overactive imaginations, a myth created to explain the unexplainable. Others, however, stand firm in their belief of this creature's existence. They point to footprints, sightings, and historical accounts as tangible proof of Bigfoot's presence among us. This creature, whether real or imagined, has certainly left its mark on us. It has sparked countless debates, inspired numerous expeditions, and even fueled a thriving industry of Bigfoot-related merchandise. But where did the legend of Bigfoot begin? How did this creature of the unknown become so ingrained in our collective consciousness? Dive with me into the depths of history to the very first account of this mysterious creature. The year is 986 AD. Norse explorer Leif Erikson and his men set foot on the shores of the New World. Not expecting what they would encounter, they soon found themselves face to face with beings that were far from ordinary, beings that would leave a mark in the annals of horror folklore. As they ventured deeper into the unknown, they stumbled upon creatures that were far from human, yet bore an uncanny resemblance to man. They were beasts of a different kind, horrible to look at, swarthy, covered in hair, and with eyes as black as the deepest night. These were not the native people the Norsemen had anticipated meeting. These were creatures of legend, creatures of nightmares. Leif Erikson, a man of courage and determination, stood his ground as he observed these towering figures. They were huge, far taller than any Norsemen, their size only dwarfed by their hairiness. Their bodies were covered in a thick, matted coat of hair, so dense it seemed as though they wore a cloak spun from the darkness itself. But it wasn't just their appearance that was disconcerting. There was a smell, a rank odor that hung in the air around these creatures, a stench so overpowering it could make even the bravest warrior's stomach churn. And then there was the noise, a deafening shriek that echoed through the woods, a sound so dreadful it could freeze one's blood. Leif and his men had several encounters with these monstrous beings. Each encounter was more terrifying than the last, yet they stood their ground, observing and learning. They gave these creatures a name that would be remembered for centuries to come. Leif and his men called this creature a skellring. Skellring, a term of contempt, roughly translates to barbarian. But why did these Norsemen, themselves hairy and rugged, note the extraordinary hairiness of these creatures? Let's delve into this mystery. Leif Erikson and his men, burly and bearded Norsemen, were no strangers to hairiness. Yet, they found the excessive hairiness of these creatures, these skellrings, worth mentioning. This suggests that the skellrings were much hairier, far more beast-like than the typical Norseman. This description paints a vivid image in our minds, one that is eerily familiar. A very large, extraordinarily hairy creature lurking in the woods with a powerful stench and a terrifying shriek. Doesn't that sound strikingly similar to the contemporary descriptions of Bigfoot or Sasquatch? The similarities are uncanny. Bigfoot, as described in countless accounts throughout the ages, is an enormous, hairy creature often associated with a distinctive, unpleasant odor. Its vocalizations, as reported by witnesses, range from eerie howls to deafening screams. Could it be that these Norse explorers were the first to document an encounter with what we now call Bigfoot? The hypothesis is tantalizing and has stirred up a fair share of debate among historians and cryptozoologists alike. Some argue that the Norsemen may have simply come across a group of native people who, in comparison to the Norsemen, appeared unusually hairy. Others believe that Erikson and his men might have encountered a species of ape or bear unknown to them. However, the most intriguing theory is that the skellring, the barbarian of the Norse tales, is indeed our elusive Bigfoot. The descriptions match too well to be a mere coincidence. Could the skellring be the ancient ancestor of today's Bigfoot? Is it possible that this legendary creature has been roaming our forests, evading capture, for over 1,000 years. As we explore these questions, we find ourselves staring into the eyes of the unknown. Was this the first recorded encounter with what we now know as Bigfoot? The mystery remains, shrouded in the mists of time and the depths of our imagination. From that first encounter in 986 AD to the countless sightings reported in modern times, the legend of Bigfoot has grown. This fearsome creature, once known as the Skellring, has taken on a life of its own, becoming deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness. The evolution of the Bigfoot legend is a fascinating journey through the annals of folklore and popular culture. From the initial encounters by Leif Erikson and his men, the story of Bigfoot has been passed down through generations, with each retelling adding a new layer to the myth. Some tales describe the creature as a menacing beast, while others paint a picture of a shy, elusive creature, more curious than threatening. Over the years, Bigfoot has permeated popular culture in a myriad of ways. It has been the subject of countless books, movies, and TV shows, and has even inspired its own field of study, known as cryptozoology. This fascination with Bigfoot reflects our innate curiosity about the unknown, our desire to explore the unexplained corners of our world. The numerous accounts of Bigfoot sightings throughout history add more fuel to the fire of this enduring legend. From the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest to the remote wilderness of the Himalayas, people from all walks of life have reported encounters with this mysterious creature. These tales vary greatly in detail, but they all share a common thread: the sighting of a large, hairy, bipedal creature that is unlike any known animal. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of Bigfoot continues to thrive. It is a testament to our fascination with the unexplained, a symbol of the mysteries that still exist in our world. Whether Bigfoot is a creature of horror, a misunderstood entity, or simply a product of our collective imagination, its legacy is undeniable. Bigfoot, a creature of horror, or just an unexplained piece of our world's puzzle. Only time will tell. For now, the legend of Bigfoot remains a captivating tale that continues to intrigue and mystify us. The existence of Bigfoot remains a tantalizing question. In the realm of the uncanny and the unexplained, one question persists, echoing through the ages. Does Bigfoot, the legendary creature of lore, truly walk the earth? Or is it a mere figment of our collective imagination? A spectral phantom woven from tales and whispers? Skeptics and believers alike continue to clash in a ceaseless debate, their viewpoints as polarized as night and day. The skeptics demand hard, tangible evidence. They argue that a creature of such size and prominence could hardly go unnoticed in our world, especially in an age where technology has invaded every nook and cranny of our planet. They question why, despite numerous claimed sightings and tales, we have yet to produce any indisputable physical evidence. No bones, no bodies, no undeniable proof. A few ambiguous footprints and grainy videos, they claim, are far from enough to substantiate the existence of such a creature. On the flip side, the believers stand firm, fortified by a deep-seated belief in the unseen. They argue that just because something hasn't been definitively proven, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. They point to the vast expanses of unexplored wilderness, the mysteries that lurk in the shadows, and the countless accounts of encounters with the fabled creature. The scientific community, for the most part, remains skeptical. It stands on the principle that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. In the absence of irrefutable proof, the existence of Bigfoot is often relegated to the realm of folklore and mythology, and yet the allure of the unknown persists. The question continues to gnaw at the edges of our curiosity, an itch we can't quite scratch. The stories persist, passed down through the generations, fueling the fire of intrigue. So we return to our initial question. Does Bigfoot truly exist, or is it simply a creation of our collective imaginations? The answer, my friends, remains as elusive as Bigfoot itself. In the icy wilderness, young Tyler finds himself face to face with the unimaginable, a Yeti. From the shadows of the snow-laden forest, the beast lunges, its icy breath frosting the air, yet Tyler, swift as a mountain hare, dives out of its path. His father's hunting knife, a relic of old hunts and a symbol of courage, is gripped tightly in his hand, reflecting the pale moonlight. As the beast strikes, Tyler dances around its monstrous blows, using his small stature to his advantage. The Yeti's roars echo through the night, a bone-chilling symphony of rage and frustration. With each lunge, Tyler retaliates, the knife slicing through the frigid air, meeting the Yeti's thick hide. The beast roars, a sound that shakes the forest and sends shivers down Tyler's spine. But the dance of death begins to take its toll on our young hunter. The cold seeps into his bones, sapping his strength. His movements become sluggish, his breath ragged. Seeing an opportunity, the Yeti strikes. With a mighty blow, it sends Tyler hurtling down the icy cliff. The world spins around him, a whirlwind of white and gray. As he tumbles, he catches glimpses of the night sky, the stars twinkling like tiny diamonds scattered on black velvet. He can feel the cold air rushing past him, the sharp sting of ice against his skin. He reaches out, his fingers brushing against the jagged cliffside, but it's too late. The ground rushes up to meet him and he braces for the impact, but it never comes. Instead, he feels a soft thud as he lands in a snowdrift. His body screams in protest, the cold seeping into his very marrow. As his vision blurs, he can see the Yeti, a monstrous silhouette against the moonlit sky, watching him from the cliff's edge. A triumphant roar echoes through the night, a haunting lullaby that follows him into unconsciousness. Down the icy cliff Tyler goes, the world around him fading into darkness. Emerging from the snow, a figure stumbles back to civilization. It's Tyler, the young hunter, barely recognizable under a thick layer of frost. He's bruised and battered, every step a testament to his will to survive. His body screams for rest, but his mind is filled with the monstrous image of the Yeti and the haunting memory of his father's abduction. The town, once a beacon of safety, now seems miles away. Tyler pushes through the icy gusts, driven by an urgent need to share his chilling tale. Finally, the familiar silhouette of the local bar appears. He appears in the doorway like a phantom, a frozen shadow of the man he was. His strength wanes and he collapses onto the warm bar floor. The townsfolk rush to his aid, their faces a blur of shock and concern. As they move him closer to the crackling fire, warmth begins to seep back into his frostbitten body. His lips, blue and trembling, part to recount the horrifying ordeal. He speaks of the Yeti in the mountains, the beast that took his father. His words hang in the air, a chilling tale too terrifying to be true. The room falls silent, the townsfolk exchanging skeptical glances. His story is dismissed as the delirium of his injuries, a figment of his frost-addled mind. Yet in Tyler's heart, the truth is as real as the biting cold he's just escaped. His father, Joe, is still out there in the clutches of the Yeti. He tries to argue, to convince them of the beast's existence, but his strength betrays him. His world starts to spin, the warm glow of the fire blurring into a hazy fog. As disbelief sweeps through the room, darkness once again engulfs Tyler. The last thing he hears is the murmur of the townsfolk, their words a distant echo. His body succumbs to exhaustion, collapsing into a fitful sleep, haunted by the icy grip of the Yeti and the desperate hope of rescuing his father. Awakening in a warm bed, Tyler finds an unexpected ally. The air is filled with the scent of age-old wisdom and the comforting aura of a Native American Indian man sitting by his bedside. His face, lined with the wisdom of countless moons, is like a well-read book, each wrinkle a tale of survival against the elements. His eyes hold the silent knowledge of the mountains, the forests, and the creatures that dwell within them. "Your father, Joe, is beyond our reach," he says, his voice deep and resonant, echoing the mournful howl of the wind outside. The Yeti is a spirit of the mountains, a guardian of the peaks. It's not a beast to be trifled with. The man's words hang heavy in the room, like a shroud of impending doom. Tyler, however, is a chip off the old block, his father's stubborn determination coursing through his veins. He refuses to accept the man's words, his heart pounding with the urgency of a rescue mission. "You don't understand," he rasps, his voice a mere whisper against the crackling fire. "I can't just leave him there." The Native American man sighs, the weight of centuries of tradition pressing down upon him. He knows better than to argue with the fiery spirit of youth. Very well, he concedes, but you must rest, regain your strength. The mountains are unforgiving, and the Yeti, even more so. But Tyler is a force of nature, matching the Yeti's ferocity with his own stubborn will. He tries to rise, his body protesting against the sudden movement. His vision blurs, his head spins, and the world tilts off its axis. With a thud, Tyler hits the floor, unconscious once more. The Native American man watches him, a silent prayer escaping his lips. He knows the mountains hold their secrets close, and the Yeti is one of the most fiercely guarded. As the fire flickers in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls, he can't help but wonder if Tyler will become another one of those secrets. As dawn breaks, Tyler awakens to an empty house. The stillness is deafening, amplifying the urgency of his mission. He springs from the bed, his body protesting against the sudden movement. Ignoring the lingering pain, he hurriedly dresses, his hands trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. His father's hunting knife, now a symbol of his lone quest, is secured firmly in his belt. The icy wind greets him as he steps outside, biting into his skin through the layers of clothing. The familiar path to the icy cliff is a blur as he runs, each stride fueled by the desperate need to rescue his father. His breath fogs up in the frigid air, but he pushes on. The image of his father trapped in the Yeti's cave, driving him forward. Without warning, a blizzard descends, turning the world into a swirling mass of white. Fear gnaws at him, but he shakes it off, a thought creeping into his mind. Could the Yeti be causing these sudden weather shifts? The idea seems far-fetched, yet it only strengthens his resolve. The top of the icy cliff looms ahead, the entrance to the cave barely visible in the blizzard. His heart pounds in his chest as he prepares his weapons. His father's hunting knife feels cold and heavy in his hand, a stark reminder of the monstrous foe he is about to face. Taking a deep breath, he steps towards the cave. The wind howls around him as if protesting against his intrusion. But he remains undeterred. His father's life hangs in the balance, and he would face any beast, any storm to bring him back. With determination in his heart, Tyler steps into the ominous darkness. His journey is far from over, but he is ready to face whatever horrors lie ahead. The lone quest continues, a testament to a son's love for his father and his unyielding will to save him. In the quiet town, whispers of the missing father and son spread like wildfire. A quiet murmur, an eerie silence, and then the voices would rise again, speculating about the fate of Tyler and his father. Each tale more chilling than the last, painting a picture of the icy cliff where they were last seen. The townsfolk would huddle together in the local bar, the very place where Tyler had collapsed that fateful night, their eyes darting to the empty corner where the father and son once laughed and shared stories. The absence was felt, the void was palpable, and the mystery it was as relentless as the harsh winter that had taken hold of the town. As for the Native American, he too had vanished, leaving behind nothing but a trail of unanswered questions. The townsfolk speculated that he had gone on a quest to find Joe, Tyler's father. They believed he had ventured into the chilling wilderness, braving the icy blizzard, all in the name of returning a father to his son. The town was divided. Some held on to the belief that the Yeti was nothing more than a figment of Tyler's imagination, a story spun out of confusion and trauma. Others, however, whispered about the creature in hushed tones, their eyes filled with fear and curiosity. Was the Yeti real, or was it just a tale spun out of the cold, lonely nights of the town? And as the winter tightened its grip, the town was left in the clutches of an unsolvable mystery. The icy cliff stood as a grim reminder of the father and son, their laughter now replaced by the howling winds. As the relentless snow continues to fall, the mystery of the icy cliff remains unsolved. The town waits, watches, and wonders, holding on to the hope that one day the truth will reveal itself. Until then, the tale of Tyler, his father, and the icy cliff continues to be the town's haunting tale. Have you ever ventured into the unknown only to wish you hadn't? This tale begins with such a journey. A group of Greenhorn Park Rangers, fresh out of training, drawn by the allure of an untouched wilderness, a lake of breathtaking beauty, and an adventure that promised the thrill of the unexplored. The lake, remote and pristine, was a siren song to these young souls, eager to make their mark on the world. The lake was an enigma, uncharted and untouched by man. It was a place of mystery and allure, a place that even the seasoned rangers shied away from. Among them was John, a grizzled veteran, his skin etched with the lines of countless summers and winters spent in the wilderness. John was a man of few words, but his warnings about the lake held weight. "Stay away from the lake," he'd say. "It's not what it seems." But the young rangers were like moths drawn to the flame. The lake was a challenge, a test of their mettle, a chance to prove themselves. They laughed off John's warnings, dismissing them as mere superstitions, tales spun by an old man to frighten the young. They couldn't have been more wrong. The group decided to take a dip in the lake, to feel the cool water against their skin, to be one with nature. They stripped down to their bare essentials, their laughter echoing off the water, their carefree spirits as bright as the setting sun. But they failed to notice the ominous signs, the sudden chill in the air, the hush that had fallen over the forest, the eerie calm before the storm. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the lake, the rangers found themselves enveloped in an unnatural darkness. They looked up, their eyes wide with disbelief, as they saw the sun being eclipsed by a blood-red moon, a sight of unparalleled beauty, but one that filled the air with a sense of foreboding. Little did the young rangers know they were stepping into a world where nightmares come to life. As the sun began to set, the group realized something was terribly wrong. The sky, which should have been ablaze with the vibrant hues of late afternoon, was instead swallowed up in a premature twilight. As the fiery orb descended, a blood moon ascended, eclipsing the sun in a spectacle that was both breathtaking and eerie. The rangers, naked and vulnerable in the cool lake waters, gazed upwards in awe, their playful chatter stilled by the sight. "This isn't right," one of them murmured. "The sun shouldn't set for another 3 hours." Yet there it was, sinking into the horizon, replaced by a moon as red as fresh blood. Confusion rippled through the group, their minds racing to comprehend the natural anomaly. They tried to shake off the unease, returning to their conversations, but the topic shifted. They found themselves discussing the recent job vacancies at the ranger station, the sudden influx of new faces, including their own. It was odd, they agreed, that so many positions had become available all at once. They speculated about a mass retirement of seasoned rangers, a changing of the guard of sorts. Yet the thought of those experienced rangers, people like John, abandoning their posts, left a cold pit in their stomachs. The blood moon hung ominously in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the tranquil lake. The rangers, once so carefree and joyous, now felt a creeping dread. The beauty of the untouched wilderness, the thrill of the undiscovered lake, had morphed into something sinister. Their laughter had been replaced by hushed whispers, their splashing by anxious glances, even as they tried to reassure each other. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone, that they were being watched. The beauty they admired was a harbinger of a terror they couldn't fathom. As the blood moon shone brightly in the darkening sky, the unsuspecting rangers were about to discover why this place was shunned, why the sun had set so prematurely. Little did they know the unexpected sunset was merely the beginning of a nightmare they would never forget. Back at the ranger station, John's worst fears were coming to life. The seasoned ranger was frantically searching for the group of young novices. The words Lake Vale echoed in his mind, and his heart pounded like a drum. He knew, oh he knew, the dangers that lay hidden in the tranquil beauty of that lake. It was a place where the veil between worlds merged, a place where man was not the apex predator. John threw on his coat, his mind racing as he set off towards Lake Vale. His stride was hurried, every step echoing his mounting dread. The path was well trodden, but today, the familiar route felt alien, as if he was walking into the mouth of a beast. He muttered to himself, words of regret and worry. "Why didn't they listen?" he cursed under his breath. "I hope they're okay. Not again. Why don't they ever listen?" The tales of the lake were not mere campfire stories meant to spook the rookies. They were warnings, passed down from one generation of rangers to the next. Warnings about the creatures that inhabited the depths of the lake and the surrounding woods. Half-man, half-wolf beasts with blood-red eyes and teeth sharp enough to tear through flesh like butter. And then there were the stories of the Bigfoot, a creature that stood tall, covered in hair and possessing strength that was beyond comprehension. John had hoped, he had prayed, that these were just that, stories. But deep down he knew the truth that had kept even the most experienced rangers away from Lake Vale. As he neared the edge of the lake, his heart was a thunderstorm in his chest, His breath hitched, his legs turned to jelly, and his mind screamed at him to turn back. The sight that greeted John at the lake was beyond his darkest nightmares. The group of young rangers were cowering in fear, their eyes wide with terror. The lake, their haven a mere hour ago, had turned into their worst nightmare. The stories were true. The creatures were real, and they were here. What the group saw emerging from the forest was neither man nor beast, but a monstrous hybrid of both. It was a werewolf, a creature of nightmare, standing 10 feet tall, with fur that was as black as the night. Its eyes glowed a menacing blood red, and long, sharp teeth gleamed in the eerie light of the blood moon. As if this spectacle wasn't enough to freeze the blood in their veins, a gut-wrenching roar echoed from the other side of the forest. The werewolf's reaction was immediate. It threw back its head and released a howl that seemed to shake the very ground beneath them. Then from the forest emerged another creature, a Bigfoot, towering 2 feet taller than the werewolf. The young rangers watched, petrified, as these two legendary beasts squared off, their primal instincts taking over. The battle that ensued was like something out of a horror movie. The werewolf and Bigfoot clawed at each other, biting and hitting with such force that the rangers could feel the tremors from their hiding place. It was an epic fight, a dance of death between two mythical creatures. The young rangers could do nothing but huddle together and watch in silent terror. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the Bigfoot overcame the werewolf. The once fearsome beast limped back into the forest, defeated and broken. The rangers were left in shock, their lives forever changed by this horrifying encounter. The tranquility of the lake was shattered, replaced by a chilling reminder of the unseen dangers that lurk in the untamed wilderness. In the face of unimaginable horror, the rangers were left defenseless. The victorious Bigfoot, panting heavily from the epic battle, turned its gaze towards the group of terrified rangers. Its eyes, a haunting mixture of man and beast, seemed to hold an intelligence that was as shocking as it was terrifying. With a swift movement, it grabbed one of the young rangers. A gut-wrenching roar echoed through the forest as the beast disappeared into the shadows, carrying the helpless ranger with it. John, still at the edge of the lake, was frozen with horror. His worst fears had come to life, and he was powerless to stop it. The sight before him, the aftermath of a battle between monsters of legend, was a scene that would forever be etched in his memory. The silence that followed was deafening. The once tranquil lake, now tainted with fear and dread, mirrored the shock etched on John's face. Summoning every bit of courage he had left, John rushed towards the remaining young rangers. They were safe, but they were forever changed. The playful banter and laughter that had filled the air just hours ago was replaced with a silence so profound, it seemed as if the very forest was holding its breath, mourning the loss of innocence. A silent agreement passed between them. They would never speak of this horror again. The words were never spoken, yet understood by all. It was a vow of silence born out of primal fear, a pact made in the shadow of a horror they wished they could forget. Lake Vale, once a symbol of untouched beauty, was now a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers lurking in the world. Its serene waters held a dark secret, a tale of terror that the rangers vowed to bury deep within their hearts. They would never return to the lake, leaving it to the creatures of nightmares, untouched and unspoiled by man. The lake, once a symbol of pristine beauty, became a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurk in the unexplored corners of our world. A chilling call disturbs the quiet night at the police station. The officer on duty, a grizzled veteran with a lifetime of strange tales under his belt, perks up as the static-filled voice on the other end reports an unsettling incident at the picnic car parking area near the woods. A couple claims to have spotted a large hairy man, more beast than human, lurking around parked cars. Without wasting a moment, our officer heads out, the glow of the dashboard casting long shadows over his furrowed brow. Upon arrival, a chilling sight greets him, an abandoned car parked haphazardly bearing the violent marks of an unknown assailant. The driver's window, a spiderweb of shattered glass, tells a tale of brute force and panic. The passenger door, ripped clean off its hinges, lies discarded a few feet away as if tossed aside by an immense strength. A cold shiver runs down the officer's spine as he takes in the scene. The car's interior is a chaotic mess, belongings strewn about, a clear sign of a frenzied search or a struggle. The officer moves around the car, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, revealing the silent witnesses of the horrifying event. Turning his attention to the area surrounding the car, he discovers something that makes his heart pound in his chest. Large, strange tracks, not quite human, lead away from the car and into the foreboding woods. The tracks are fresh, the smell of damp earth still clinging to them. The officer looks at the path they carve, a trail leading into the heart of the unknown. The woods loom large and menacing, teeming with secrets hidden amongst its dense foliage. The moonlight filtering through the trees casts an eerie glow, casting long, monstrous shadows that seem to dance and writhe with every rustle of the leaves. The officer takes a deep breath, steeling himself against the fear gnawing at his gut. With a gulp, the officer ventures into the unknown, following the ominous tracks. His hand tight on the handle of his service pistol, he steps into the woods, the darkness swallowing him whole. The story of the ransacked car ends here, but a new, more terrifying chapter is about to begin. The woods swallow up the officer as he steps onto a path less traveled. His boots crunch against the undergrowth, each step a testament to the courage within him, a courage that wavers as the trees tower over him like silent observers, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. The forest seems alive, each rustle and chirp contributing to a symphony of nature that is as beautiful as it is eerie. As he ventures further into the woods, the officer's eyes catch a disturbing sight. Drag marks like clawed fingers had raked the earth, disturbed the otherwise serene woodland floor. His heart pounds in his chest as he follows the trail, each step taking him deeper into the heart of the woods, deeper into the unknown. The trail ends abruptly at a sight that chills his blood, the gruesome remains of a man. The woman, however, is nowhere to be seen. He fumbles for his radio, his fingers shaking as he tries to call for backup. But his lifeline to the outside world is silent. Only static greets him, the crackling noise echoing in the silence, a grim reminder of his isolation. His breath comes in ragged gasps as he looks around, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow. The silence is oppressive, suffocating, the only sound his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. His mind races, thoughts of escape and rescue mingling with the creeping dread that gnaws at his sanity. Just when he thinks he can't take the silence any longer, a faint cry pierces the air. It's a woman's voice, weak and trembling, echoing through the trees. His heart leaps in his chest. Could it be the missing woman? His fear momentarily forgotten, he rushes towards the sound, his flashlight cutting through the darkness, a beacon of hope in the face of despair. A faint cry echoes through the trees, a beacon of hope for the missing woman. Fueled by adrenaline, the officer charges through the darkness, guided by the cries. His heart pounds in his chest like a tribal drum, echoing the urgency of his mission. He bursts into a clearing, his breath ragged, and he expects to see the woman. But there's no one, just an empty space bathed in the ghostly glow of the moon. A cold realization washes over him. He's lost. The once familiar woodland is now a labyrinth of darkness and fear. The officer is alone, stranded in the heart of the wilderness with no sense of direction. Panic begins to gnaw at his resolve. He's a protector, a servant of the law, but now he's just prey. Deciding against wandering aimlessly, he settles for the night. He builds a fire, its flickering light casting long, monstrous shadows on the surrounding trees. The gentle crackle of burning wood is a small comfort against the symphony of the unknown that surrounds him. As the night deepens, the woods come alive. Strange noises puncture the silence. The rustling of leaves, the snapping of twigs, a distant guttural grunt. Each sound is a phantom, unseen but not unfelt. The officer's skin prickles with fear, his pulse racing in time with the wild rhythm of the forest. His body tenses with every noise, every shift in the wind. But there is one tree, thick and sturdy, that promises a modicum of safety. He huddles against it, the rough bark pressing into his back as he strains to see into the inky darkness. His mind races with thoughts of what could be lurking just beyond the reach of his vision. As the night stretches on, the officer's eyelids grow heavy. His body aches for rest, his mind for respite. He fights it, but exhaustion is a relentless foe. His eyes flutter closed, his body slumping against the tree. But even as he succumbs to the pull of sleep, his senses remain on high alert. The unknown is a terrifying place to be, especially when you're not alone. As sleep claims him, a massive figure lurks in the shadows. A sudden jolt awakens the officer only to find himself in the clutches of a monstrous creature. The officer's heart pounds in his chest like a war drum, his blood runs cold, and a primal fear seizes him. He's being hoisted over the shoulder of a gargantuan beast, an entity straight out of folklore and campfire tales. a creature that bears an uncanny resemblance to the stories of Bigfoot, the elusive ape-man of the woods. Yet here he is, a horrifying reality as tangible as the fear coursing through the officer's veins. The creature moves with a disturbing grace, navigating the dense forest with an ease that belies its monstrous size. It clambers up steep cliff faces, its powerful limbs effortlessly propelling both of them higher and deeper into the wilderness. Each step takes them further away from civilization, from safety, from any hope of rescue. After what feels like an eternity, they arrive at a hidden lair nestled within the forest's heart. Amidst the shadows, he spots a figure huddled in the corner. It's the missing woman, her body frail and battered, her spirit barely clinging to the vestiges of hope. Her eyes meet his, and in them he sees a mirror of his own terror, his own desperation. Thrown to the ground, the officer locks eyes with smaller creatures lurking in the darkness. A chill runs down his spine as he realizes the grim truth. This isn't just a lair, it's a den, a family of these beasts, each one more terrifying than the last. The officer has been ensnared, captured by the beast, and as the cold reality of his situation sets in, an eerie silence descends, punctuated only by the soft rustling of the creatures in the shadows. In the dim light of the lair, a feral woman shuffles towards a fire pit. The officer's eyes, wide with fear and disbelief, dart around the cavernous dwelling. He spots the woman he had been searching for. She's injured, but alive, huddled in a corner, her face a mask of terror. His attention is snapped back to the feral woman. She stoops over the fire, stirring a bubbling pot. Her hands, gnarled and worn, move with a disturbing familiarity. His heart hammers against his chest as he takes in her ragged appearance. She's old, her eyes sunken and vacant, her skin stretched thin over protruding bones. She looks as though she's been here for decades, surviving in this godforsaken lair. Suddenly, the creature that brought him here, the towering behemoth that lurks in the shadows, lumbers forward. Its massive hand closes around his arm, its grip vice-like. The officer struggles, but it's like fighting against iron chains. He's dragged toward the fire, the heat licking at his face as he's thrust down in front of the feral woman. She looks at him then, her eyes glinting in the flickering firelight. In her hand she holds a hefty blade, its edge glinting ominously. As she steps towards him, the reality of the situation crashes down on him like a wave. He's not here to rescue. He's here to be a part of this gruesome feast. The woman he came to save. She's not a victim, but a bride in this twisted ceremony. The officer's heart pounds in his ears, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He opens his mouth to scream, but the sound is swallowed by the deafening roar of the creature and the crackling fire. As the blade gleams in the firelight, a chilling scream echoes through the forest, swallowed by the dense trees, leaving the audience to wonder what happened to the brave officer. The forest offers no answers, only the haunting silence of an untold story. The clock strikes 12 and all is not well in the woods. Our tale begins in the heart of a dense, eerie forest. The moon, the only light in this dark abyss, paints long, menacing shadows that dance and flicker with every gust of wind. The wind, like an ethereal conductor, orchestrates a chilling symphony as it whistles through the leaves and rustles the undergrowth. The forest, alive in its nocturnal majesty, holds an uncanny sense of foreboding, as if hiding a secret waiting for the right moment to reveal its dark truth. In the midst of this haunting wilderness, we find our protagonist, a seasoned hiker. He's no stranger to the call of the wild, but tonight he's alone, not out of necessity but by choice. He's on a midnight trek, a daring adventure into the unknown. His heart races, not from fear, but from the thrill, the exhilarating thrill of what lies ahead. His senses heightened, he takes in the unique aroma of the forest, a mix of dew-soaked foliage and the earthiness of the soil. The cold wind stings his face, but he welcomes it, a reminder of his solitude and vulnerability in this vast expanse of nature. Every step he takes, every rustle he makes echoes through the woods, disturbing the quiet and yet adding to the symphony. His flashlight, like a beacon, cuts through the darkness, revealing the path ahead, yet casting long, ominous shadows that seem to follow him. He's an intruder in this sacred space, a human element in a world ruled by nature, but he moves forward, driven by an insatiable curiosity, a desire to explore, to witness the forest in its raw, untamed glory. The forest, in response, seems to whisper back, The rustling leaves, the creaking branches, the distant hoot of an owl all seem to convey a message. A warning, or a welcome, he can't tell. The forest has secrets. Secrets it guards fiercely. Secrets it whispers to those brave enough to venture into its depths. As the hiker ventures deeper, the forest whispers secrets unshared with the world. In the heart of darkness, something stirs, unseen yet distinctly felt. A hiker, alone in the vast wilderness, senses an unusual presence. His heartbeat quickens, pounding in rhythm with the suspenseful silence of the woods. The wind whispers secrets through the rustling leaves, each sway a testament to the unseen entity lurking in the shadows. Every crunch underfoot, every snap of a twig echoes in the void, disrupting the natural symphony of the night. As if on cue, a distant growl rumbles through the undergrowth, a primal sound that sends shivers down the hiker's spine. The air grows colder, denser, as though the very atmosphere is holding its breath in anticipation. The hiker's senses are heightened, his instincts screaming danger. He feels the gaze of unseen eyes upon him, a voyeuristic presence that seems to penetrate his very soul. Despite his courage, despite his resolve, the hiker cannot shake off the feeling of being watched. From the abyss of the night, a shadow takes form. In the depth of the midnight forest, a hiker's heart pounds in his chest like a wild drum. His breath comes in short, ragged gasps as his eyes strain to pierce the consuming darkness. Suddenly, his torchlight catches on something. A figure, impossibly large, lurking at the edge of the clearing. The hiker's blood runs cold as he takes in the sight before him. A monolithic creature, standing at a staggering 11 feet tall. Its body is covered in a dense layer of hair, dark as the night itself, seemingly part of the shadows from which it emerged. The mere size of the being is awe-inspiring, but it's the creature's eyes that captivate the hiker. Two orbs, glowing with an ethereal light, gleam in the moonlight. They radiate an intelligence that is almost human, yet uncanny. They hold a world of understanding, a depth of knowledge that seems to span ages. The hiker is rooted to the spot, entranced by the gaze of this colossal creature. There is a moment, a heartbeat in time, where man and beast lock eyes. The hiker's fear is mirrored in the creature's eyes, along with a primal curiosity. It is a shared moment of understanding, a silent acknowledgement of each other's existence in the grand tapestry of life. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the creature retreats back into the obscurity of the forest, leaving nothing but the echo of its presence. The hiker is left standing in the moonlit clearing, his heart pounding a rhythm of fear and fascination. Did he imagine it all? Was it a trick of the light, a figment of his fear-addled mind? But no, the lingering sense of awe is too real. The memory of the encounter too vivid. Frozen in fear and awe, the hiker stares at the creature, the Bigfoot. The silence shatters, giving way to a heart-stopping chase. The Bigfoot, a hulking monstrosity, standing 11 feet tall, roars with a primal fury that echoes through the forest, chilling the marrow of the bones. It lunges at the hiker, its massive arms reaching out with a terrifying intensity. The hiker, in the face of such a nightmarish spectacle, can do nothing but run. The chase is on. A ballet of terror unfolds under the moonlit canopy, a dance of life and death. The hiker, driven by the pure, primal adrenaline, darts through the forest, his heart pounds in his chest, a frantic drum echoing his terror. Every gasping breath he takes is a desperate plea for survival, every step a desperate bid for freedom. The forest, once a place of peace and tranquility, is now a labyrinth of fear. The Bigfoot is relentless in its pursuit, its monstrous form crashing through the underbrush with an unstoppable force. It's a nightmare come to life, an embodiment of raw, primal terror. Its roars are a deafening symphony of fear that reverberates through the night, a haunting reminder of the hiker's precarious situation. The hiker stumbles, a root hidden in the shadows tripping him up, but he quickly recovers. He can't afford to fall, can't afford to stop. He has to keep moving, has to keep running. His life depends on it. The forest is a blur around him, a dizzying kaleidoscope of fear and desperation. His lungs burn with the effort, his muscles scream in protest, but he pushes on, driven by the instinct to survive. The chase continues, a terrifying game of cat and mouse under the midnight sky. The hiker moves with a frantic energy, his fear propelling him forward. The Bigfoot, a monstrous silhouette against the moonlit sky, is a constant, looming threat. The hiker can hear its heavy footfalls, can feel its presence behind him, a chilling reminder of the danger he's in, and then, just as suddenly as it began, it ends. The hiker, gasping for breath, loses sight of the creature. The forest falls silent once more, the echoes of the chase fading into the night. But the fear remains, a lingering specter in the darkness. The chase may be over, but the nightmare is far from finished. Safety seems within grasp, or so it appears. Our hiker, heart pounding like a drum in his chest, stumbles upon a clearing in the dense forest. The moonlight breaks through the canopy, casting an eerie glow on the forest floor. His breaths come in ragged gasps, echoing in the stillness of the night. His eyes dart around the clearing, scanning for any signs of the monstrous creature that has been pursuing him. The towering trees stand sentinel around him, their shadows dancing in the flickering moonlight. A sense of relief washes over him, as fleeting as a whisper in the wind. The adrenaline coursing through his veins begins to ebb. He's made it. He's safe, or so he thinks. But then, something changes. The air grows colder. The forest sounds dim. The feeling of being watched returns, stronger than before. It's as if the woods themselves have come alive, their ancient spirits awakened. An icy dread seeps into his bones, the sensation of unseen eyes boring into him. The taste of fear is bitter on his tongue. Suddenly, the solitary beam of his flashlight flickers. He smacks it against his palm, pleading with it to hold on. His pleas go unanswered. With a final gasp, the light goes out, plunging him into darkness. The inky blackness of the forest swallows him whole, leaving him blind and vulnerable. His heart hammers in his chest, each beat echoing the ticking of a clock counting down. In the deafening silence, a low growl echoes, bouncing off the towering trees and reverberating across the clearing. It's a sound that makes his blood run cold, a sound that promises danger and dread. It's a sound that leaves no room for doubt. The creature is still out there, lurking in the shadows, and it's close, so very close. In the deafening silence, a low growl echoes, leaving the hiker and the audience on a chilling cliffhanger. The city's hustle and bustle were far behind them as the family embraced the tranquility of the woods. The family, Carol, Robert, and their darling little Lily, had traded the concrete jungle for the verdant retreat of nature. The towering buildings were replaced by ancient trees. The honking of cars was replaced by the chirping of birds, and the polluted air was replaced by the crisp, clean breath of the woods. Carol, always the caretaker, was busy preparing a delightful picnic lunch. The aroma of freshly made sandwiches wafted through the air, competing with the scent of pine and damp earth. Nearby, Robert, the loving father, was engaged in a battle of wits with the fish in the lake, hoping to reel in a monstrous carp or a catfish. In the midst of this familial harmony, their little angel Lily was frolicking in the woods. She was a speck of vibrant energy against the serene backdrop, her laughter echoing through the trees. Carol kept a watchful eye on her, comforted by the presence of another family camping nearby. There was a sense of community, the collective pursuit of peace and tranquility binding them together. As time ebbed away, Lily, with a twinkle in her eye, approached Carol. "Mom, can I go play with Susie by the lake?" she asked. Carol, with a pang of maternal concern, agreed, reminding Lily to stay within sight. Lily's joyful laughter filled the air as she scampered off towards the lake, her tiny form soon swallowed by the grandeur of the woods. Robert, drawn in by the tantalizing aroma of lunch, joined Carol at the picnic table. The air was filled with anticipation of a hearty meal, the woods providing the perfect backdrop for their shared moment. But as the minutes ticked away, there was one laughter that was absent, one presence that was missing. Suddenly, a question echoed through the woods. "Mom, can I go play with Susie by the lake?" The words hung heavy in the air, a chilling prelude to the horror that was about to unfold. A sense of unease settled on the campsite as Carol realized Lily was nowhere to be found. The once serene and idyllic setting had transformed into a theater of dread and anxiety. Carol, her heart pounding in her chest, scanned the area for her daughter, but the woods remained silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. Robert, having been summoned by Carol's frantic calls, wore an expression of confusion, then concern. "She was supposed to be by the lake, within your sight," Carol said, her voice trembling. Robert's face paled. "I haven't seen her." "She was up here with you," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. Their world seemed to spin as they called out for Lily, their voices echoing through the woods. Each moment that passed without a reply was a dagger to their hearts. After what seemed like an eternity, Carol approached the other family, her voice shaky. "Have you seen Lily and Susie?" she asked, her eyes pleading for a positive response. The words that followed hit Carol like a freight train. "We don't have a daughter called Susie." The world around her seemed to crumble. Her knees buckled and she fell to the ground. Tears streamed down her face as she cried out in despair. "My baby is missing. Where is she? Help me find my baby girl." Robert and Fred, the other father, agreed to search the woods, packing bags with food and water, ready for anything. Meanwhile, Carol, left with the other children, tried to call for help, but her phone showed no signal. Desperation took over. She turned to the other mother. "Can you look after the children while I go to the ranger station?" The woman nodded, her own face pale with worry. As fear overcame her, Carol sprinted up the trail to the ranger station, her heart pounding in her chest. Her only thought was of Lily, lost and alone in the woods. She had to find her daughter. She had to. Meanwhile, footprints, tiny and delicate, led the two fathers deeper into the woods. Robert and Fred, equipped with a sense of urgency and a bag of provisions, were on mission. They had one goal in their minds: to find Lily. As they waded through the dense undergrowth, the footprints were a beacon of hope, a trail that could lead them to the missing child. Each step they took was heavy, not with exhaustion, but with the weight of the situation. The footprints were too small, too intricate for a child to have ventured this far into the forest on her own. The fathers couldn't help but wonder, how on earth could a child make this journey on their own? Meanwhile, Carol found herself at the ranger station, her heart pounding in her chest, her breath ragged from the frantic run. The ranger, a seasoned man with a calm demeanor, listened attentively as Carol narrated the day's horrifying events. His decision was swift. He would join the search. The ranger's experience and knowledge of the forest could be the key to finding Lily. As they raced back to the campsite, Carol was a whirl of emotions. Fear, guilt, and a desperate hope swirled within her. The ranger, however, remained focused. His eyes scanned the ground, picking up on details that most would miss. He found the footprints, the same ones that Robert and Fred had followed. With a heavy heart, the ranger pointed to the tracks. "They lead further into the woods." The words echoed in the silence, a chilling reminder of the daunting task ahead. The search was only beginning. The unknown lay ahead, shrouded in the dark canopy of the forest, but there was no turning back now, not when a child's life was at stake. A child's laughter pierced the silence, pulling the fathers towards a clearing. It was like a melodious beacon, guiding them through the thick, lush undergrowth. There, playing innocently in the dappled sunlight, was Lily. The sight of her, safe and sound, brought a surge of relief that washed over Robert and Fred like a warm wave. But this moment of relief was short-lived. A rustling sound emerged from the bushes, growing louder by the second. The fathers watched, their hearts pounding, as a towering figure lumbered into the clearing. The creature was a sight that defied belief. A massive, hairy woman, her eyes glinting with an almost human intelligence. In her arms, she cradled an infant, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. The fathers could only stare in shock as the creature turned towards Lily. She let out a roar, a sound so ear-splitting it seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet. The screeching sound echoed through the woods, sending a chill down their spines. In one swift, fluid movement, the creature scooped up Lily. She didn't scream or cry. She simply looked at her father with wide, surprised eyes. Then, with a speed that belied its size, the creature turned and darted back into the dense woods, leaving the fathers standing in the clearing, their hearts pounding in their chests. Robert and Fred sprang into action, their fatherly instincts kicking in. They chased after the creature, calling out Lily's name, their voices echoing through the woods. But the creature was too fast, too nimble. It disappeared into the undergrowth, leaving no trace of its passage, except the fading echo of its roar and the terrified look in Lily's eyes. Frozen in place, the fathers could only watch as the creature disappeared with Lily. Their minds raced, fear and disbelief wrestling for dominance. What had just happened? And more importantly, what were they going to do now? The search and rescue team arrived to a scene of chaos and despair. The air was thick with tension and the scent of fear, a stark contrast to the earlier serenity of the day. The campsite, once a haven of family joy and nature's beauty, was now a stage for a chilling mystery. The team, professionals hardened by many such heart-wrenching cases, were taken aback by the palpable sense of dread. The silent woods seemed to hold their breath as if hiding a terrible secret. The first task was to locate the fathers and the ranger, who had ventured off into the dense wilderness. They found Robert and Fred huddled together, their faces etched with terror and fatigue. Nearby was the ranger, his usually confident demeanor replaced with a look of grave concern. Their relief at being found was short-lived, the absence of young Lily casting a shadow over their reunion. The fathers recounted their harrowing encounter, their voices trembling as they shared their tale of the towering beast and the eerie childlike laughter that still echoed in their minds. The search and rescue team listened, their faces unreadable, their minds processing the incredible story. Meanwhile, back at the campsite, Carol was wrapped in a blanket, her eyes vacant, her mind reeling from the horrific possibilities of what could have happened to her precious Lily. The other mother held her own children close, her face a mirror of the terror that had gripped them all. Despite the gathering darkness and the chilling tale, the search and rescue team pressed on. Their lights pierced the gloom, their calls for Lily reverberating through the stillness. But the woods remained silent, offering no clues, no comfort. The night wore on, the darkness deepening, the hope fading. The campsite was a tableau of fear and despair. The once joyful family outing turned into a nightmare. The search and rescue team, the fathers, the mothers, the other children, all united in their shared dread and anxiety. As the sun set, the woods echoed with the unanswered calls for Lily, leaving everyone wondering. And so, our tale of the Campfire Horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The Campfire Horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us. Until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.